Happy lunch hour, gang. All right. Those that don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, right? We all have heard that phrase. Might be time that we start repeating some history because things seem to work better before. I'll give you an idea here. We go back to the late 1700s, 1792 actually, when the French started publicly executing people by guillotine. Commit a crime, chop your head off. People took picnic baskets out to the town square and watched the guilty party be beheaded. Got the point across real quick, hey, you can either sit here with your picnic basket and watch, or you can be the main event up on stage, right? In the United States, we had public hangings. We had public hangings all the way. The last public hanging was in 1936 in Owensboro, Kentucky. Okay, Rainey Bethea was hung publicly for all to see because he had raped someone. They got rid of the problem. Okay, should we go back to that? Might be a good idea because what we got going on now with this, I'll spend 40 years on death row and 82 appeals because the judge didn't let me wear red socks in the courtroom or whatever, and so that ties it up in court for another 2 years. That's getting nuts. All right. I want to give you some. This is just what's happened in the last week or so. Okay. You guys know the story about Andreas Rene Probst, right? The former former California police commissioner that was run over by a couple of kids in Las Vegas, and they filmed it, okay? And when one of the kids was arrested, this is after they stole a car too. And when one of the kids was arrested, he goes, "Oh, I don't care. I'll be out in a month anyway." Actually, didn't work that way. He'll wind up going to jail. He'll spend the rest of his miserable life behind bars, okay? I've told you the story about Luis Leiva Gonzalez, the 19-year-old kid in Indianapolis who killed 3 people running from the cops, driving 120 miles an hour, ran into an innocent bystander's car, killed them, killed the 2 passengers in his car. Yeah, he was released on $1,000 bail. Okay, got to put up 10%. Means the kid had to whip out a C note and he got out of jail. Okay, ooh, that's tough. Okay. Anybody know the story about Pavel Lepere in Baltimore last week? Okay. She was killed by a guy who had served 7 years of a 30-year sentence released for good behavior that he was convicted for committing multiple rapes. The guy got out of prison, and with a year of being out of prison, went on, raped a couple of women, and murdered Miss Lepere. Okay. 7 years on that 30-year sentence for rape. And guess what? He was out on good behavior and wound up committing the same crime. Okay. Anybody see the story that happened today? Josh Kruger, Philadelphia journalist, far leftist too. Okay. This was a journalist who mocked all the violence in Philadelphia, right? Yeah. He was shot 7 times last night, killed in his home. Okay, yeah. He didn't think the violence in Philadelphia was bad at all, but guess what? It came knocking on his door and took care of him. How about what happened overnight? Y'all know who Henry Cuellar is, right? Democrat congressman. He was carjacked in Washington, D.C., near his home at the Navy Yard. Okay. 3 teens got in there, carjacked another senator. This is like the 2nd or 3rd one we've heard of this year where congressmen have been, or women, have been attacked violently with crime. You want to take a guess what Nancy Pelosi's response was? All the members of Congress should have a security detail. Paid for by you and me, of course. Okay. But everybody should have a security detail. Screw the people. We're the elites. We're the important ones. We need to have security. You and me, not so much. All right? Think I'm kidding? Let's talk about Minneapolis, okay? You know, the Minneapolis DA is now giving probation, recommending probation to the court for murderers, pedophiles, and killer drug dealers. Probation. Just let them back out, right? Because murderers think, hey, I got away with it once. Pedophiles, hey, I got away with it. Killer drug dealers, hey, I'm just going back on the street and I'll do whatever I want to do, okay? You think that's the only one? Let's take a look at Boston. Boston politicians voted down funding for the police. The commissioner, their quote, was dumbfounded. Crime is going up, and the politicians are like, nah, we don't need more police. We need to reduce their funding. So we can reduce the funding of the cops. We can let the criminals out in the street. But oh my God, those precious congressmen, precious senators, they need their own security detail. What about you and me? We're not worthy, okay? The hell with having police to protect us. Let's just turn this into Mad Max. Let's turn this into the Wild West, right? Okay, this is what's going on. We've talked here on this channel for well over a year about kidnappings in parking lots, about grabbing kids. You saw the story about the kid that was grabbed in New York on a bike trail. They found the guy pretty quick, okay? But what's going to happen? They'll spend years and years and years and years and years paid for by you and me, enjoying 3 hots and a cot. That's it, okay? You got homeless people in San Francisco. Give me this. You saw this. Stealing the yachts, stealing the sailboats out of the bay, extorting the owners, saying either give us stuff or we're going to sink your boat. You know, I mean, yachts and sailboats ain't cheap, okay? The insurance companies aren't necessarily going, hey, yeah, you know what? We'll pay out everything we have, you know, and buy you a new boat, buy you a new boat, buy you a new boat. The homeless are in there. They'll just turn it into where they're going to live. They'll steal all the stuff that's on the boat, and they sink the boat. The Oakland Alameda Maritime Police Force has 1 cop who is trained in how to drive their boat to protect the coastline. 1. Yet all this is going on. The inmates are ruling the asylum. And the United States is the asylum. You know, we got rid of asylums, 50 years ago? Because, it was cruel and unusual. But killing somebody in their doorway, running over them while they're riding a bike, you know, raping a woman, that's not cruel and unusual. We can't do, we have to do lethal injection. We don't want to make it painful for the execution. Anybody remember the movie Law Abiding Citizen? Okay. Yeah. Go watch the first 20 minutes of that movie. Unedited. That's how we need to deal with these people. Okay. We need to go back to the days of public execution to send a freaking message to these criminals who think, hey, I'll just get off. Can't do the time, don't do the crime. If I can't do 24 hours in a lockup, hell, you know, so what? I robbed a convenience store, killed 2 people. I'll be out tomorrow afternoon. Honey, I'll be home for dinner tomorrow. I'll have all the money and all the food you need. Just, I'm going to spend the night at the jail. That's literally what we're at. This defund the police crap is something that's certainly going to set the world on fire, because we're going to start hearing more and more stories about a good guy with the gun than we're hearing now. Let's just put it that way. Because we've got way too many people getting robbed, raped, beaten, killed, kidnapped, whatever it would be. Look at Philadelphia. Hey, 300 people going in there and robbing a store. Guess what I'll do? I'll videotape it all and post it to TikTok. Right? I mean, Criminals ain't exactly smart. We'll just leave it at that. But how does this stop? Who's going to protect you? Who's going to protect me? Who's going to protect Henry Cuellar? Right? You or me? Okay. We'll have to pay for his security detail now. But I don't see anybody going, you know what? Joe Smith there in Pittsburgh needs, protection because he's got to drive to his business, which isn't on the greatest side of town, and, we're going to go protect him. Police are like, no. I mean, I've told you guys before, my county has 3 cops on the road at any given time. County's a decent-sized county, land-wise, okay? Easy. I've had it happen. Call the cops for something. They're here half an hour, 40 minutes later. They apologize. They were on the other side of the county, okay? Who knows what they were doing? Whether they were writing speeding tickets or meeting up with their side piece. I don't know. But this is what you get. We're on our own, guys. And any of this stuff happens, we're the ones that are going to have to deal with it. And it may not happen to you. It may not happen to your spouse, your kids, whatever. You may be walking through the parking lot at Walmart and see this. And what is your response? Some people's response is walk by and ignore it. Some people's response is, sickening as it is, I'll take out my camera and I'll videotape all of this. A few of us, will actually go in and help the person that is being harmed. Some people have the physical capacity to do it. Some people don't. I get that. Okay. But if you don't have the physical capacity to do it, you can scream, yell, call the cops, get somebody else's attention, find some guy who can go in and help, whatever. But the politicians aren't on our side. They're all out for protecting themselves. But we've got to the point in this country where the criminals have all the rights and the people have none. And what does that tell you? More and more people are going to become criminals because there's no penalties for doing whatever they do. Hey, you can go steal $1,000 worth of stuff. We won't even prosecute you. And the stores close down. Why don't we have any grocery stores? Because you stole it all, okay? Ain't that difficult to figure out. This is the problem. This is what I say. We need to go back to public executions. I don't care if it's firing squad, hanging, guillotine, whatever would be. But somewhere, somehow, the lesson needs to be sent by some prosecutor, by some DA, by some governor, that this shit ain't happening on my watch. Yeah, you got your rights, so did the person you violated. Pinball out.